Hello, algebra class. Today we're going to be talking about linear equations and what exactly that means and how to identify them. The word linear comes from the word line and simply means a straight line. We know something is linear if it is straight. So for example, here's the coordinate plane, your x and your y axis. This is your x axis and your y-axis. Remember that from pre-algebra. If I were to graph something on here, if I were to graph that, I can see that this graph is a straight line. So we can say that yes, it is linear. Let's draw another xy axis and let me show you this graph. Okay, so you see the graph here goes up and then down and then up again. It is not a straight line. So this is non-linear. In other words, not a straight line. You can tell by looking at a graph, if the graph is straight, it is linear. If it is not straight, it is not linear. So visually inspecting graphs, we can tell if they are linear or not linear. In addition to visual inspections, we can tell by looking at the graph. looking at the equation. If you look at this equation here, y equals x plus 2, let's look at this x and notice that that x is not raised to an exponent. It is just the x by itself. That tells you that this is a linear equation. Linear. So y equals x plus 2, y equals 3x, y equals x minus 17, y equals negative x minus 5, y equals negative x divided by 2 plus 13. In every one of these, the x is not raised to a power, the x is not underneath a square root sign, the x is not on the bottom of a fraction. It's okay to be on the top of the fraction, but it's not on the bottom of the fraction. Therefore, all of these are linear. Things that make an equation non-linear, based on looking at the equation, if the x is raised to any power other than 1, or other than just alone with no power. So if that x is squared, that's non-linear. If the x is to the third power, that's non-linear. If the x is to a negative power, that is non-linear. If the x is underneath a square root symbol, that is non-linear. And if the x is on the bottom of a fraction, that is non-linear. So if it's on the bottom of the fraction, not a straight line. If it's under a square root symbol, not a straight line. If it has any exponent other than 1, it is non-linear. A negative exponent, a 3, a 2, those are non-linear. Linear equations, the x is just by itself. It has no exponent. Or remember that no exponent is the same thing as having an exponent of 1. It's okay if the x is being multiplied by something. It's okay if the x is being divided by something. It's okay if the x has a negative in front of it. These are still linear. These are non-linear. In the next IXL lesson, you're going to go through and determine if something is linear or non-linear, either based on its picture or based on the equation. So I want you guys to go to IXL, Algebra, and do lesson S-1. That's determining if an equation is linear or not. If you have any questions, you can email me. Thanks.